Okay, so let's get started. Welcome to a Teamdash webinar. I'm Carina, the community manager, and today we're going to talk about the effective management of a high volume of job applicants. Since a lot of you are here for the first time, Teamdash is an easy-to-use platform for applicant tracking, recruitment marketing, and video interviewing. So as a recruiter, you can do everything in one place. Teamdash is also the most customizable recruitment software on the market. So in addition to setting up the platform according to organization's needs, every single hiring project can be designed according to your needs as well, with custom automations, etc. And as most of you are in the middle of choosing an ATS for your team, I recommend booking a product tour with us to learn more. You can find the link in the chat. So let's get started with today's topic. We will have two guests. First, a marketing and communications manager, Antero from kood, which is a coding school in Estonia. And he's going to give us insights on how they managed 3,600 applicants who applied for their IT course. And our second guest is a recruitment expert, Kayleigh from the UK, who recently joined Teamdash, and she will share her tips and tricks with you as well. And at the very end, I will also show you a quick preview of the awesome automation and AI tools we have at Teamdash that help you easily manage hundreds, if not thousands, of candidates in a hiring process. And we also have some polls going on throughout the webinar, so feel free to check those out as well and give your answers and votes. Okay, so we're ready for Antero, and I will invite him to the stage. Just a second. Okay, the invite is sent.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, nice to see you. How are you?
Great.
Good. Okay, so kood is an international coding school that's created for adults of any age who wish to start a career in IT. So you have a 18-month program during which the students become full stack developers. Am I right?
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. And your latest course, you accepted 215 students from a whopping 3,600 candidates, and from 19 different nationalities, and the ages were between 18 and 62. So this is pretty cool. Can you tell us more about the student selection process? What are the stages like, and how did you manage to narrow down this huge amount of applicants to 215 students?
Yes. So yeah, hi from me. I'm Antero. I handle everything marketing and comms at kood, and overall the selection process is, since we're a small team, is usually done by me. So I'm handling all the applicants, and throughout the 3 years there have been more than 10,000 of them. And how does the process look like is that at first we have an online test where people do it, and then this is the first round, and if they're successful from there, they get an invitation to a 3-week sprint that's on-site coding. And after that, when they're successful in there and they feel like this is the school for them, and we see that their results are good enough, then they get the position to get to the school. And overall, the selection process, like going more technical, is that the first step, it's usually handled all by emails and somewhat automations. So after someone is successful, we upload the data, and after that they get an automated message saying that, hey, you're successful, fill in the next steps, here are stuff you need to do next. And after that, when they filled in a lot of like public personal information and things like that, then after that they get another automated message that says that, okay, now everything's great, you can select your dates, so for the sprint dates. And after that, it's more like one by one sending out information some logistical information, overall onboarding them to the selection sprint process. And we gathered them on Discord where they can chat with each other, and they have an overall wiki to see how everything looks like. Yes, that's a brief overview, I guess.
Very cool. So if you have thousands of applicants in the beginning, how do you narrow them down in a way, like how many people get to the next stage, and what's the percentage there? Is it that a lot of them get rejected already in the beginning, or?
Yeah, so from the 3,600 people who applied for at least this year, of them about 900 were successful with their application. And about 700 were those who actually came to the sprint. So there was a loss of 200 people there. And those are usually people who are successful with the test, but they wanted to try out something for fun. It's a fun test. You can actually try it out on our website. So for a lot of people, it's just a fun way to pass their time. And after that, about 700 people, so it's about 25% of people did not want to take part in the next process, but they came on site and then started studying or started learning coding for the 3 weeks. And from there, usually from the 700 people this year we accepted about 400. 200 of them, as you said, are started just now, and next 200 are starting in January actually. So yeah. So the dropout rate is usually the 20 to 30% is throughout, but I guess the highest churn is in the first step, so the application process, where only about 20% are actually successful. So yeah.
Okay, but in the beginning, going through all of those thousands of applications, how does that look like? Is it that you look at each of them, or just you Antero on your own for days looking through thousands of applications, or how does that work? Is that automated in any way?
So the system itself is done so all the not successful candidates are given another opportunity, and from there we also send them emails when at some point of time where we feel like they should be notified that, hey, you should maybe try the test again. So that's another opportunity. They can try it again. But otherwise, if they have a successful test, then those are actually one by one verified by me, since we need to be sure that the people who are the people, and if all the information they put in is actually correct. But that's the only like manual labor I guess I have to do, and since it's distributed to a long period of time, then it's not that gruesome work, I guess.
Okay, at least the rest of it is automated. Okay, and what has been the most challenging part in that process, in your opinion or in your experience?
So yeah, some challenging parts are, I guess, since we do need a residence permit to come to study, then this is something that it's a field that they have to fill in, and that it's a field that usually people do not fill in correctly or give out false or outdated information. For example, I don't know, residence permits that are not made to like study in Estonia basically, or be in Estonia. And also like a minor challenging part is that since we have a lot of, since you do need to put in your email a couple of times, then usually throughout the steps, people don't remember what email they put in. So there's like 3 different variations, and then try sending out automated information when you don't know what is the exact email where they actually refresh their data and things like that.
Yeah, I can imagine. Then you just have to have all the emails listed and then just send them out everywhere where you can, just to make sure that they get the information right.
Yeah, basically. Sometimes that's the best solution.
Yeah, I guess it would be a lot easier if you just had like a
platform
where they insert their information just once and then it's all there. But I guess there's
yeah, and that's also like some updates that we're working on, and it seems like from next year we'll also have this step more automated and better organized.
So can you maybe again go over the different tools that you use to automate different steps? So is it just that it's automated messages, or it's also what are the other triggers and little actions that are automated?
So one automated, since we do let them fill in out forms where they submit information about themselves, then one automated message goes from there just to let them know that we received that information. That was like a minor thing we did at one point, since when the volumes turned higher, then we understood that this is like an actual question that people have all the time, that, hey, I'm not sure if I filled everything in. And like getting them the message, they can actually go back and see that when they, for example, search our email address, they can see that, hey, I actually did everything. Okay, that's okay. And also giving them a reminder about the next steps. But other automations are usually emails, dependent on what step they're in. For example, if they've done on a test that is, when they've done a test that is successful, they get some point of information. If from there they fill out all the needed steps, they get another message, and that's through email. So yeah. And throughout the funnel, I guess in the last step, that is when they come to the sprint, that is where we actually just have used straight emails through blind copy, because we see that from there there's less of a chance that Gmail basically puts your email in the trash.
This is very good, yeah, especially the confirmation email in the beginning. So you can make sure through automation that everybody gets the confirmation email. You don't have to go through and send them manually. So they have clarity and the communication's done well. From your point of view, as well as a recruiter, basically you're recruiting those students. In your view, is when they get the messages, are they in your file or the platform, whatever you're using? Are they somehow moved, or do you get a notification as well? If they have, for example, passed the test, do you get a tick somewhere, or what's your experience like through the fact that they get the automatic messages and it's easier for you to manage them all?
So yeah, the system, basically if they filled everything in that is needed, then they basically ended the journey, and after that there are other action points to them. So I guess after that we have an understanding that they know everything that is needed to be done, and after that we don't we don't get back to them with the same questions. Okay. I guess I'm not sure if that was the question, but
yeah, I was just wondering if if they finish the test, for example, do you get notified somehow, or you have all the candidates in one place, and then how do you follow and manage them from your end?
Yeah, they're all gathered on our own platform, our study platform, and from there, the notifications are, if we want to see who have done the test, we can see that, but no notification, because I guess getting 3,600 notifications per year might be a bit too much.
Yeah, that makes sense. Great. And while you give the send out the automatic messages to candidates, and do you keep the candidates engaged throughout the process as well, or is there any certain additional information that you share with them, or what's the experience like from that point of view?
Yeah, all throughout the steps, whether they be successful or unsuccessful, we try to forward them to our newsletter. There are a lot of people there, or our social media channels where we're quite active, just to see how everything kood Jõhvi looks like. It's a school that's kind of hard to understand if you don't go in depth, I guess. So forwarding them to all the right channels, having content tailored to them is really essential, and that's usually the only way that we engage the unsuccessful candidates. And from there, usually people in our newsletter have some special opportunities. So we also have some partners and events that are happening, and we try to give our own follower base some special opportunities also. And for successful candidates, since we have the Discord channel where they have to use during the selection sprint process, during the school studies, this is a way where we keep them engaged throughout the years. When we see some cool offers that might be suited for them, we try to keep them engaged. We also have some partner companies that maybe want to hire in different positions. We send out that information. So yeah, keep being acting with them in different channels is something we do. Yes.
Okay, so the rejected candidates, you don't have like a pool for them or anything. You just direct them to subscribe to your newsletter and just keep up with on social media, etc., so that they can be in the sphere and then maybe apply again next year.
Yes, exactly. So usually, yeah, if they're unsuccessful, and since we have a lot of applicants anyways, we don't have any need to keep them like fully engaged, since we want people, it's a school, we want them to make a decision that's best for them. And if they felt like this is not the best solution for them, or if they were unsuccessful, then they can just see what the future holds for them and maybe make another decision in the near future.
I guess the situation is a bit reversed here, because on the job market, it's more of the candidate who can kind of choose between employers, and for you, it's more like the students are really interested in studying in Jõhvi school. So
yeah.
You've got more of the power, I guess.
Yeah, and it's also because our study methodology, like self-learning, no teachers, no classrooms, practical learning, it's so much different than other universities, vocational schools, and we're not competing with them, since we just want to offer something for people who maybe do not have the chance somewhere else. So just we want to showcase what are the options here, and if a person is interested, then I'm more than certain that if they have the ambition to come and learn coding with us, then they have the opportunity, and they can make use of that opportunity. And those people who don't feel like this is for them, we don't actually want them to make like an uneducated guess of, hey, I'm gonna come here and do this. Yeah.
It's just caught my ear. This sounds very interesting that there are no teachers, so students teach each other. But what if all the students who start, like, they don't have the necessary knowledge? Is it that students from the earlier years will teach them, or just can you briefly describe that?
The program itself is quite intuitive, and it keeps progressing and showcasing you what to do. So your main teachers are Google and your other peers. And when they actually start learning together, then we also have mentor groups that help them out. But actually, the program is built so people with all different backgrounds, they can use the program and gather new skills. And after finishing the program, they are full stack developers. So whatever your background was beforehand, you will be at the same level. Like, we have firefighters, we have previous developers, we have chefs, we have people from all kinds of backgrounds. And it doesn't really matter, since the program is built so everyone will be able to be the boss of their own time, but actually learn as much as they can throughout the time there.
Yeah, that sounds very fascinating. Very cool. So the students of the first year are about to graduate soon. Do you know how many of them are planning to start a career in IT already, or do you have any kind of data from that side?
So from the first batch of students, of about 200 students, they're graduating this week, and about 50 of them are already entered the job market, and extra for that, some of them have already started their own startups, so being their own employers or employing people from the school. Otherwise, all the graduates are certainly looking for IT-related jobs, and some of them are still also finishing their studies. So say they've asked for a deadline extension. So after they finished everything needed, they hopefully are also heading to the job market or doing something cool themselves.
And how do the students find their first IT-related job? What's that like? Do you offer any support?
Yeah, we actually have a talent manager who works with the students, works with the partners in order to get special opportunities to work with. We have 30 plus partner companies, so working within those companies, or offering other sort of mentorship, help with building up a CV, LinkedIn, and actually doing the first interviews herself. So just to get a glimpse of how everything would look like, and yeah, and we have a called talent like network. So where we also post job applications, job ads, different opportunities for internships and other projects.
Mm-hmm. Great. So this is awesome to hear that you have such a high demand to that course, and actually you managed to manage all of those candidates and still keep in touch with them and share information and everything. Maybe for the end, you could share just one of the highlights maybe from what you really like about this hiring process, or the whole, exactly, the whole hiring process is there. What's your favorite part there?
I feel like the on-site selection sprint process, the 3 week, so coming on-site for 3 weeks to code, is actually something that I feel like more schools should maybe use. So just the 3 weeks of heavily going into the school program, they actually learn almost as much as people do in 1 year in university. So a lot of practical skills. And I feel like this gives a really good overview of what the school is like, what the people are like, what the culture is like. And do you actually is this something you want to like bond yourself with for the next 1.5 years, and make sure that it's a commitment. The commitment you make is the best option for you.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, to see people in person and just kind of
Yeah.
see the whole learning happening, because education's key. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Antero, for participating at this webinar today. And thank you for sharing your experience, and good luck with everything. So yeah, have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, you too. And thanks for having me. And if you have any questions, then, or anyone in the audience has any questions, then let me know. You can write directly to me.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, we can move on with our next guest, Kayleigh. So I'll invite her to the stage and give a little introduction as well.
Hello.
Hello, hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good. I'm excited to share some information, hopefully.
Yes, absolutely. So you are one of our latest additions to the Teamdash team. We're so happy to have you. So you have a wide range of experience in the recruitment world, and you've also managed roles with hundreds of applicants.
Yeah.
So maybe you can just tell us more about your background at first, and then also which positions you've hired for.
Yeah, of course. So it sounds scary saying this out loud, but I was in recruitment for nearly 10 years. Started agency side. So I did that for about 7 years across various different sectors. So started in nursing, moved in kind of warehouse operatives, then software engineering. And then my last role agency side was more of the kind of secretarial HR support. I then did a stint in-house for about 2.5 years, and was the kind of only recruiter for most of my time there. So literally did every role. So more of that kind of backfill or kind of new headcount positions, but also those higher volumes. So mainly the software engineering and also customer experience, where we needed to continue growing that team because obviously the client base was growing. And from a high volume perspective, you were looking at around 150 applications for those. And then the more kind of one-off roles, you'd be around the kind of 50 mark. So definitely not as high pressured when it came to the candidate experience side.
Mm-hmm. That sounds like a lot. Well, not compared to 3,600, but I can imagine that 150 is already a challenge.
Yeah.
So what has been the most challenging part in those high volume job applicant projects?
I think consistency is the hardest point. You know, when you're receiving so many applications, you want to ensure that they're getting the best candidate experience and that it's consistent for each person. So even if people aren't successful, they still need to be receiving, tailored feedback. They still need to walk away feeling that they had a positive experience. And I also think as well that it is quite difficult when you have, say, multiple hiring managers. So being able to manage both the internal process as well as the external candidates. And I think that the feedback is really important. So being able to automate it, but still making it tailored is kind of where you need to be able to manage that effectively.
Yeah, I can imagine, because you've got a lot of stakeholders at the same time, and then making sure that the communication's working and it's smooth and everyone's got the necessary tools and exactly information, and everybody's kept up to date. So from like within the company, and then also with the candidates, right? So do you have some specific tips that you could share that have helped you in your experience to guarantee a positive candidate experience with in a project where you have over 100 candidates?
Yeah, I think the first point of call before you even go out to market with the role is to really sit down with the hiring managers and understand the nice to have, the must to haves, what is it that we really need out of this person, and then hold your hiring managers accountable. So make sure that they're aware that, they need to come back at a certain time. They need to have reviewed CVs. I also then think keeping the candidates up to date, again, from the beginning of the process, but also the whole way through. And then again, I've got over it before, but feedback for me is a huge thing. I think there are so many businesses that unfortunately send out just the generic, unfortunately, you weren't successful for one reason or another. And in the market that we're in now, where it is still a candidate-driven market, we need to ensure that the feedback that they're receiving is as tailored as possible to give them a good candidate experience, but also help them in their next process. I don't think it should be, we're only supporting the candidates that are moving through the process and then becoming successful in the business.
Yeah, but how do you guarantee that so if you have over 100 applicants, how do you give them personalized feedback without spending a lot of time on that?
Yeah, so again, I'm probably going to be a little bit hypocritical in this. So I think when it comes to the beginning of the process, so when CVs have been reviewed, it is okay to send unfortunately, you've reviewed your CV and you weren't successful. And that tends to reduce the talent pool anyway. So, I very much doubt out of 150 candidates, they're all going to be right. And once you reduce that, and then you start moving through, say a phone interview, then a hiring manager stage, then a face-to-face, at that point, you should be able to send tailored feedback. I think the automation that comes along with that is getting a feedback survey from the candidate to understand what that process was like. Once you've then received that feedback, you can then start understanding where you need to make changes in your process. So the automation at the beginning of it helps you reduce the amount of candidates anyway. And then as you step through the process, it should still be tailored.
And now that you mentioned automation, what's your experience with that, and which parts or which steps within the hiring process have you had automated, and how has that helped you make it easier?
I'd probably say there should be automations throughout each process, or each stage, should I say. So when the candidate, applies for the role, they should get a welcome email saying, thank you for your application. Again, once you press reject on a system, they should receive an automatic rejection. And then as they move through the process, there should be different automations around feedback, scheduling interviews, sending prompts internally as well, so that people are aware that they need to review CVs. And again, there should be automations as you reach the end of the process. So once you've then marked someone as hired, there should be some form of trigger that sends it through to your HR system and kind of then start that onboarding process.
That's great. Yeah. And in your experience, how was it, if you compare your experience before you used automation and once you started using that, how has that changed your time, energy, and just productivity in general?
Oh, massively. Yeah, I think so. Before, in my previous role, that we had all these triggers, it was a very manual process. And it was, again, I think taking away from that really good candidate experience, because there is such thing as human error. We are we have loads of things on our plate, both internally and dealing with external candidates. So that was a kind of a difficult piece within itself, is to maintain that right level of candidate experience and also ensuring that people are getting the right information when they need it. So when the automations came in, I became more productive and was actually then able to get involved in different areas within talent acquisition instead of just sheer recruitment where you're trying to fill roles. And I think that helps people to develop their career when they have more time.
Yeah, and I also feel like it's important to note that it's important to automate, or you should automate tasks and like actions and not decisions. So a lot of this manual stuff that you did before now is just done automatically, and you can spend more time to actually, assess the candidates and then make those decisions, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
What it's saying is the less candidates you have, the more, chance you have to send that tailored feedback.
Exactly. Are there any mistakes to avoid when you're managing this high volume of job applicants, and then keeping them engaged and making sure that that they have a positive candidate experience? Any errors you've learned from? Or
I think the biggest thing to remember is that a job search is really important for people. Whatever the reason they're looking, it's still a big decision, and it's emotionally led for one reason or another. So I think a mistake is to forget that, to just think, oh, well, someone's, just applied for our role and kind of just running through the process with them. So remain human in your approach when you're speaking to people. And it's very easy to lose that when you are doing that high volume recruitment, because you're managing so many different moving parts. So I would say that's a real keen thing not to forget, is that everybody has a reason as to why they're looking. And again, I've said it before and I will keep saying it, because feedback for me is so, so important. But candidates know what a rejection looks like when it's generic. Don't let them feel that they have added all of this time to be part of your process and then just receive a, we're sorry, we have moved forward with other candidates. Give them a reason as to why they were unsuccessful. Make it so that they can continue to learn as they move through the process.
Yeah, this is a good point. And also that you mentioned that since candidates mostly take their application quite seriously, they also expect to, kept informed throughout the process, and then they know what to expect. And when that time, gets too long, they might either drop out or just kind of feel confused, have a negative experience. So how have you kept candidates engaged throughout the process?
Yeah, so I think it's really important to be upfront from the beginning. So things like having the interview process on the application form, or the job spec, so people can see what that's going to look like. And then as you're moving through the process, update them on timelines. Now, I know they change, people's diaries change, and there's holidays happening that you might not be aware of as a talent acquisition manager because the hiring manager hasn't updated you. But I think it's important to send updates to candidates, even if it doesn't say something like, we are still in the process, but to keep them engaged is sharing information about the business. Has there been a new round of investments, or have you written a new blog that's important for them to read, to again allow them to understand more about the culture and what it feels like to actually work at the company that they're hopefully going to be joining. That would probably be the main thing for me, is either, if you're not doing it at the beginning, to be really honest and upfront of how long it's going to take between each stage, is continue to update them throughout the process. So once you finished a particular interview stage, say, you will hear back from us in 2 weeks and we will let you know feedback. If it's sooner, fantastic, but the latest you would hear back is 2 weeks. Again, that gives them a timeline to work towards.
Yeah, and you've actually prepared 2-3 templates as well of emails of, it's just to our viewers can get the idea and then just get some inspiration. So I'll share the screen with those examples, and you can also, you already commented on them, but you can just also briefly again go over why you chose to share that template.
Yeah, so this one, again, for me, this is kind of a standard way of letting them know that the interview process has kind of been a bit slower, but you're now giving them specific timelines. So you have said, we're finishing this round of interview on Friday and we'll be in touch with you Wednesday next week with some feedback. Hopefully that keeps candidates engaged, but it also helps candidates if you're further through on the process and they have other processes going on, to know exactly when they're likely to hear back. And you might then be able to mitigate the risk of a candidate dropping out due to another offer.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one, I mentioned it a second ago. So again, still making them aware that, they are in process. We know what's going on. However, here's a bit more insight into the business. Share a recent blog. Make sure that, if they need to come back to you with any questions, they can. And kind of just leaving it open for some line of communication with them directly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is great. Also, just to kind of like keep them engaged with the extra information. And another one.
Yeah, again, continue with a human approach. You are speaking to people, share with them that it has been a bit crazy in the business. If it has been, if it hasn't, don't just say that for the sake of it. Again, I think as well, apologizing is still important. Make them aware. I've used reviewing CVs. It could be phone interviews. But again, give them a timeline so they're aware of when they will hear back from you. And I do think it's important to stick to that timeline. And the reason you're sending this email is because you do know you will hear back and be able to share feedback with them by end of play on Friday.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, thank you. We will share those templates in the follow-up email with you as well. So you will get those and then hopefully get some inspiration. So this was great. Awesome. And now to finish it off, maybe you could just share from everything that you've mentioned, just what's one of the most important tools or approaches that has helped you manage a high volume of job applicants? So what's this one thought or this one practical thing that we need to take away from your experience?
Yeah, I don't have just one. I'd probably say there's like two key areas. Mm-hmm. So one is around being really clear from the outset, both internally and externally. So making sure your hiring managers are on board, and then also making sure that the candidates are aware of what that process is going to look like. And the second is being able to have some form of automation to allow there to be less of the kind of manual work on yourself, to then give you the opportunity to continue that really good, clear candidate experience throughout the rest of the process. So things like I've said throughout this whole piece of me speaking around feedback, but also, again, I think it's important to have surveys being sent to candidates when they've been rejected so you can analyze that data. And also then the automations as you move through towards the end of the process, because again, that just takes the workload off you.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah. So the candidate experience, the communication side there, and then automations are kind of the two important things.
Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Is there anything else that I forgot to ask that you'd like to add, or you think that that's pretty good?
No, I think that's it. I think I don't want to do information overload. So if anyone obviously have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to share any of the experience I've learned. But no, I'd say that's probably it for now.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you very much. And so happy again to have you in the team and share your experience. So have a great rest of your day.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Hi. And if you have any questions for Kayleigh, then feel free to drop them to the chat as well. Okay, yes. Okay. Now, I think we can conclude that having a good recruitment software is necessary to manage a large number of candidates, especially one that has automation tools. So that's where Teamdash becomes useful. So we actually have a list of AI and automation tools to make the candidate management process easier for you and guarantee a positive candidate experience. So I will share a list of them with you as well. And actually, for the next 10-15 minutes, I'll show you some of those features and tools in the Teamdash platform as well, so you can get a glimpse of what we're going to talk about in our next workshop next week, next Tuesday. Make sure to sign up, and that'll be a more technical workshop where I show how to set up those automation triggers and different automation actions, and also use all of those different tools. So today we'll just go over them quickly, show a preview so you get an idea. So let's get started. Just making sure that you all see. Okay, so first of all, we have a list of different integrations on Teamdash, from job boards to HR programs, and also the Microsoft Office tools like Outlook and Microsoft Teams for video interviews, or for interviews, and also Zoom. So everything is in one place. You don't have to go outside from the platform, copy some links, copy some information. It will all be automatically synced with all of those different platforms. And when it comes to AI, so on Teamdash, you've got you can manage the whole hiring process, from the job ad creation to making an offer. So when it comes to creating job ads, we have a separate tool for that. And within that tool, so we have a demo hire here, a talent whisperer. So we'll be looking for a psychic recruiter. Basically, that's just a funny demo. But basically what you can do if you start creating the job ad, we have a inclusive language check. So you can make sure that your copy is not discriminatory towards anyone. And what that means is that AI will analyze and check your copy and give you an analysis and let you know if this is discriminatory or it is friendly sounding and is also inclusive. So here you can see I ran the check, and it gives the analysis saying that is generally inclusive, promoting diversity and respecting equity. If it does have something that's not very nice, then it also gives you recommendations how to change it. So this is one of the AI tools you can use when creating a job ad. But now let's go into a project on Teamdash. So this is the project view. We have the project for the Talent Whisperer. We've entered all the information and also the job description and requirements for that position. So now here you can see all the candidates. These are our Teamdash employees, so they've all given their consent to use their names here. And what you can see is that if we have added all the information to a candidate card and also their CV, then what you can do is ask the AI to go through their CV and give a summary based on their application. So they will give a summary of this person's experience, and under more information, also bullet points to go more in depth. And it might also, it might also give you a recommendation whether this person is fit for the role or not. And how it does that is that you have added the role description and the requirements when creating that project. So it assesses the candidates based on those requirements. Now let's go into different automatic triggers and actions that we have within the project. So in each stage, you can set automatic stage actions, and there are a lot to choose from. So you can choose to send an automatic message, for example. So once a candidate has applied, you don't have to send manually a confirmation email. You can set up an automation of that message. You can customize the trigger. So basically choose when the message is being sent. It can just be a button. So whenever you click a button, so everyone in this stage gets the automatic email. Or you can choose to send it, or that the system sends it whenever the candidate has been in a certain stage for a certain amount of time. Or if we talk about another stage where you have sent them an asynchronous video interview questions and they have sent their responses, then this candidate gets an automatic message, email, basically, or after they have been in a certain stage or at a specific time, sorry. So the message will go out on a specific time that you basically set. Now, regarding the message, you can basically start writing the message from scratch here if you wish, if it's a new project and you don't have any templates yet. So you can write the message here and save it as a template so that you can use it in your other projects later. But if you already have created some templates, you can just choose them here, choose the correct one here, and then send it. Then let's go through the other automation actions as well. So you can also set up an automation to move the candidates to the next stage after a certain amount of time. You can set up an automation to ping other users within that project. So for example, hiring managers, you can set up an automation that they get notified whenever a candidate has sent their answers to the asynchronous video interview, for example, so that you don't have to go and let the hiring managers know that now it's their time to go and review the answers, and the hiring managers themselves don't have to check back to see if there are any new responses. So there will be an automatic notification, for example. Then you can also send out the asynchronous video interview questions. So we have this great feature where instead of, if you have a lot of applicants and you simply don't have the time to do live interviews with all of them, you can ask them to answer questions in a video form. So basically, this is the asynchronous video interview. You can ask the questions in a video form or send them via text, and then also set the time, how long the responses can be. So the length of the responses from 30 seconds to several minutes. And it's much easier also for the hiring managers to go through those videos and watch them rather than read through a lot of interview summaries. You can also, if you want to make the messages that you send, for example, the confirmation, thank you for applying email, you want to make it a bit more personal, what you can do is record a video message and send it out with the email. So there will be a link to that message. So what you can do again is choose the trigger and choose a template and record. If you don't have a template, then what you can do is write the message yourself here and also save it as a template, and you can record the message right in the platform. So you don't have to go anywhere else, and it's a nice way to make the whole hiring process a bit more personable. And the last really cool action that automated action that you can set is the auto add tags via AI. So let's say that for your role, there are certain skills that are really important. So for example, this person has to be fluent in English. So you can set a automatic action where the AI will go through the candidate's application, and if within that application they have mentioned that they are fluent in English or they have English proficiency at a very high level, then the corresponding tag will be added to the candidate card in the preview, and you can already see which candidates have the necessary requirements and which ones don't. So it's easier for you to filter the suitable candidates from the ones who are not more faster, especially if you have over 100 applicants within the process. Now, another feature that we have are scorecards. So I will go into depth with those during our workshop next week. But basically, this is a very easy tool on the candidate card where you can assess their skills, give them ratings, and then the system will automatically calculate the average as well. Now, another tool that I like to show you is the interview scheduling tool. So you can, if you'd like to invite a certain number of candidates to an interview, you just select them and go to our schedule interviews, click on that button. And then here, basically you have a calendar view. So Teamdash integrates with your Outlook, and you will see your Outlook calendar here. So I don't have mine connected at the moment, so this is empty, but in theory, you will see all of your meetings there. And it's got a lot of different options how to offer different time slots for candidates. So one is that you can choose the slots yourself. You can choose how long the interviews are, how many candidates are within one interview. So if you do a group interview, for example, and you can just choose as many slots as you wish. Another option is that you can also just offer the candidate all the slots that you have available within a certain time frame in your calendar, for example. So it'll offer the candidate all of the slots that you have open. Or if you have agreed on a certain time for an interview with the candidate earlier, you can just send them the interview invite through this this tool as well. But if you offer specific slots, then you can choose the slots. And again, here to either write the message yourself from scratch and then save it as template for next projects, or you can select a template that you have pre-written and then simply send that. So it's a very easy to use. And once you send those, the candidate gets an invite, and then they can choose between all the slots that you have offered them. And once they have chosen the specific slot, they will get the calendar invite for that interview. So very smooth, very easy, and yeah, automated. Now for recruitment performance, just to see how all the projects have performed, we have this recruitment performance landing page, which is from one side very visually pleasing and on the other side very informative. So at the very top here, you can see we have this hiring funnel logic to show you the data. So these are each stages, and you can see specific information within that stage. So the data in here, you can see where the candidates have come, and you also see a chart about the finished projects and the time to hire. Also sources, where do hires come from? And then the reasons why do candidates drop out. So this goes both ways. So here, if you have rejected the candidates, you can mark the reasons why. And at the same time, if a candidate has decided that they don't want to continue the process, then you can also mark the reasons why they have decided to drop out. Then also there's an overview of submission sources, where the candidates have come from, or where they have applied from. And then lastly, the email message conversions as well. So I will go through those, or into those in more depth during our next workshop next Tuesday. But this is just to give you an idea of what the tools are like and what the options and opportunities are like on Teamdash's platform. Also, all of the upcoming webinar and workshop events for this year are already up on LinkedIn, so you can check them from our LinkedIn page and save the dates. But also, if this already sparked your interest, don't hesitate to book a demo with us, and we can show you more. And yes, so this basically is it from me. Thank you so much for listening. I'll just pop up a slide with our next workshop again as well. So we'll talk about how to make the most of automation tools with your ATS next Tuesday. And then we have a next webinar coming up in October as well, talking about recruiter burnout and effective time management. So make sure to save that date as well. So thank you from me. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And yeah, bye.